What's up, guys? My name is Miles.
And my name is Fez.
And this is The Commodity. And today we are reacting to are Filipinos Asian, Hispanic, or Pacific Islanders?
So before we hop into this, I saw a comment about me not kind of reacting to the Spanish names in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And I already have seen names in the Philippines, so I didn't overreact to it.
Right.
Or, I think there was San Fernando and all those. And I was like, I've already known that there were some Spanish names to them, so I just didn't react to it.
Yeah,
People
and there's
were
a
like,
lot of Spanish ties in the Philippines.
Yeah. And I had already seen in some other videos that some of the areas are named after Spanish.
And I don't know
names.
about Pacific Islanders, but I almost said Pacific Highlanders.
Pacific Highlanders.
I don't know about Pacific Islanders, but I do know, obviously, the Philippines has ties with Hispanic and Asian.
Yeah. And then Pacific Islanders, I believe places like Hawaii is considered a Pacific Island.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and hop in, check this out, and see what this person thinks Filipinos are.
What are you?
What are you?
Just picture somebody poking them in the face. What are you?
Alright, so the Philippines recently won Miss Universe, which means once again, the Philippines is an international spotlight. And how many of you Filipinos out there have gotten these questions?
Are Filipinos Asian?
Are Filipinos Hispanic?
Are Filipinos
That face.
Pacific Islanders?
Short answer, yes, and yes. The long answer, that's a little tricky. This is where it gets a little complicated. So, first, are Filipinos Asian? Honestly, I'm surprised that we still get this question. The Philippines has officially been listed as an Asian country since forever, I feel like, since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Geographically,
Well,
it is
there's two big
Asian.
reasons people cite Filipinos for not being Asian. One, our connection to the West, and two, the country's religion. Yes, the Philippines was Spanish and US occupied, and, well, because of that Spanish occupation, the country is mostly Catholic. So I'm going to break this down geographically, ethnically, culturally, and linguistically.
Geography.
So take a look at Taiwan, which is the closest country to Philippines. We are 100 miles from Taiwan. You could literally swim from Itbayat to Orchid Island. We're also 400 miles from mainland China. In fact, we're closer to China than Japan is. So the Filipinos that you see every day, like me and your friends, are not how the original Filipinos actually look like.
Ethnicity.
So this is an Aboriginal Filipino, and because of their separation from the rest of society and the rest of the country, their lineage has been mostly untouched by Spanish, Chinese, and other visitors, so they would most accurately represent how the original Filipino would look like. So the Filipinos you see every day, like me, movies, TVs, your coworker that's really good at karaoke, your male friend that really likes K-pop, were the results of generations and generations of mixing, mainly Spanish, Chinese, and Indonesian. So one of the most popular theories is called the out of Taiwan theory, which was popularized by an Australian anthropologist by the name of Peter Bellwood. It states that the first settlers of the Philippines came from Taiwan and China.
You know, we always got comments that you looked Malaysian, but I could see you more in the Philippines.
Well, come to find out, I'm a huge mutt. I did one of those DNA tests. I came out to be about 50% South Texan, Northern Mexican, native.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half is Spanish and Portuguese.
Okay.
So no Asian in my
No Asian.
blood.
China around 4,000
But
BC,
Spanish.
which
Yeah.
means
Our
that
relationship.
Filipinos and Chinese share the same ancestors. So if you go back far enough, I'm sure most Filipinos can trace their lineage all the way back to China. And since sea migration has become viable, the Philippines has always been a destination for Indonesian, Chinese, and other Asian immigrants.
Culture.
So Filipino culture and their traditions are in line with a lot of other Asian countries. We have the same kind of values. We teach, high respect for elders, thriftiness, We celebrate the same festival.
But it seems like they're very
We
mixed,
even take
much
our
like I
shoes
am.
off
Yeah.
before we enter the house. How Asian is that? And another point, food. I mean, look at this. We have
love
very
food.
similar cuisines.
Yeah,
We eat
I
rice,
eat
egg
food.
rolls,
I
We
might
must be
be-
related.
desserts, we have
I might
plenty
be
of
from there.
noodles, Shou pao, tofu, and I mean, pretty much everyone drinks boba.
Boba. Yeah.
If that isn't evidence enough, I don't know what is.
Holla, holla.
There's a boba place right next to where I
Tagalog
work.
is an Austronesian language, which means it has the same similarities.
It's expensive, though. It's like $6 for a small.
Like Japanese, Malay, and Sundanese. And in addition to that, a lot of Tagalog is derived from Chinese Mandarin and Chinese Hokkien, which is a Southern Chinese language. In Tagalog, tea is ta'a,
In Mandarin, it's cha.
gold is ginto,
In Mandarin, it's jing tiao.
soy sauce is toyo.
In Hokkien, is dao yu.
In Tagalog, ki is susi,
In Hokkien, is so xi.
earring is hikao.
In Hokkien, is he gao.
So, by all
So it's
accounts,
very similar.
geographically, ethnically,
It's just
culturally,
enunciation
linguistically,
seems to be the main difference.
Filipinos are Asian, without a doubt. Anyone who says otherwise, I don't know, probably hates Filipinos.
You're not Asian. Oh
Hispanic
crap.
Filipinos,
refers to
Hispanic.
People, nations, and cultures that have a historical link
Spanish.
to the Spanish language or country of Spain. But more commonly, it applies to the countries once under colonial possession by the Spanish Empire. Spain occupied the Philippines for a really long time. Usually the first country when you think of the word Hispanic is Mexico, but never the Philippines. Why is that? So if we go back, Spain occupied Mexico from 1521 to 1821, which is exactly 300 years. However, on March 31st, 1521, a man named Ferdinand Magellan solemnly planted a cross on the summit of a hill overlooking the sea and claimed for the King of Spain possession of all the islands he had seen.
This is
which
mine.
officially and by records marked the beginning of the Spanish colonization of the Philippines. However, Magellan died only a month later, so
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of people like to cite February 13, 1565, which was when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi conquered Cebu. Then,
That looks like an
on
old
June
picture.
12th, 1898,
Even though
the
obviously
Philippines
it's not.
issued their Declaration of Independence from Spain. That's 377 years, or 333 years if you go by the second date. Spain occupied the Philippines longer than Mexico. I mean, if anything, Filipinos are more Hispanic than Mexicans. That was a joke. Don't hurt me.
Yeah.
I mean,
we still speak
just look at our
Spanish, to
last
be
names.
fair.
Cruz, Perez, Lopez, Hernandez, Garcia, Santos, Sanchez. You can't get any more Hispanic than that. With almost
Ethnicity.
400 years of Spanish occupation, you can be sure there was a lot of Spanish-Filipino mixing and intermarrying. Now, whether this was by choice of the Filipino or not is irrelevant, but because of how inconsistent and unreliable Filipino records were in the 1600s, there's not really any accurate number of how many Filipinos have Spanish ancestry. The numbers vary depending on which report you look at, but I've seen the number as high as 50% of Filipinos. Now, I doubt the number is actually that high, but it just gives you some perspective of how much Filipinos have Spanish ancestry. Linguistically,
So do they have a like a 24 and like a DNA test? Do they have those that y'all can do? I mean, I don't know if y'all are able to do ours. I don't know if it's like a international
23
business.
and me or whatever.
Yeah, is it 23 and me? I was
I
like
think so.
24 and me.
I don't know.
23 and me, and then mine was ancestry
I wouldn't
.com or something like
want
that.
Annie and me.
Huh? But I would like to know like with the percentages because I'm a high percentage of Spanish
Yeah.
influence, and then of course I already have Mexican influence in me as well. So, I mean, I wear it on my skin. You
Yeah,
can
let us know
literally
if
see
you
it
guys have done DNA tests before and like what your
overall.
is.
Yeah, because I have like small. I have like 1% African. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's kind of cool. It doesn't help me in my athleticism.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, what 1% is it? But yeah, let's go ahead and get back to this.
Yeah.
Spanish has been an official language of the Philippines since 1565. Aside from Spanish itself, Tagalog has heavy Spanish influence. In fact, 40% of all Tagalog words has their origin in Spanish. and even uses Spanish outright. Tenedor,
Tenedor.
Tenedor.
cuchara,
Cuchara.
cuchillo,
Cuchillo.
zapatos,
Zapatos.
Zapatos.
medias.
Medias.
So yes, Filipinos are Hispanic.
Are Filipinos Pacific Islander?
Are Filipinos Pacific Islander?
They don't copy me.
This one's tricky. If you just want to go by the definition that a Pacific Islander is an inhabitant of an island in the Pacific, then yes, Filipinos do live on an island in the Pacific. But if you want to go deeper, Pacific Islander usually refers to the inhabitants of the islands of Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia.
Polynesian
And
sauce is
Filipinos
really
have a
good.
strong connection with
I
all of
agree.
these groups.
From Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Here's a map of Micronesia. If you look at the
I wonder if Polynesian sauce is really from
Polynesia.
Polynesia.
That's a good question.
If you're watching from Polynesia, or if you have friends or family in Polynesia, let us know if the Chick-fil-A sauce, Polynesian sauce, is from Polynesia.
They're like, these guys are idiots. Like,
this Davao
It's
is
a good
only
question, though. I'm
600
curious.
miles from Palau. And Palau was actually technically part of the Philippines back in 1885.
I couldn't tell you anything about.
So, according to the same theory I mentioned
Polynesian.
earlier, the first settlers of Micronesia actually came from the Philippines. As you can see on the map, migration started here in Taiwan, then to the Philippines, and then from the Philippines, our ancestors migrated eastward about 2,200 BC from Luzon to the Marianas Islands and Guam, and then later in 1000 BC from Mindanao to Palau, and later spread through the rest of Micronesia around 200 BC. And being only 600 miles away, continual migration was shared between the Philippines and Micronesia, even until today, meaning modern Micronesian Filipinos would have the same ancestors. In fact, almost 40% of inhabitants in northern Marianas,
That's
Guam,
beautiful.
and Palau are ethnically Filipino, and an even bigger percentage have some sort of Filipino ancestry. It is theorized that the first settlers of Polynesia came from the Philippines and Taiwan. They then migrated south through Melanesia in 1300 BC.
So technically, Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia are Filipino. Not the other way around.
and quite possibly as well from Thailand as well.
Well, yeah, but
That region of the country is what I'm understanding is the theory anyways.
Yes.
Then later to Samoa and
I don't know if there's
then to Tonga,
guaranteed.
900 BC, and
Right.
then to the rest of the islands in 700
Samoa.
AD. This would mean that modern Polynesians and Filipinos would have the same ancestors. Linguistically, the connection is also evident in the language. Take the word mata. In Tagalog, mata means eyes, and it's also the same in Samoan, Tongan, and Tahitian. Sky is langit in Tagalog.
In Samoan, it's langi.
Counting from 1 to 10 is
Samoan.
basically the same in Cebuano and Samoan.
In Cebuano,
And in Samoan,
it's usa,
it's tasi,
duhat,
lua,
tulo,
tolu,
upat,
fa,
lima,
lima,
unom,
ono,
pito,
Uno.
fitu,
walo,
valu,
siyam,
iva,
og napulo.
sefulu.
Actually, all the Filipino, Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesian languages are all classified as Austronesian languages because of their shared origin and their similarities.
I wonder where the size comes from, because the what's it called? I can't even think. The Hawaiians, the
Samoa?
Samoans, they're huge.
Yeah.
They're not small people in general. They are gigantic freaking people.
Well, the Spaniards were short people.
Yeah, but I'm curious of how they got
How
so
the
much
Samoans
bigger
got big.
than the rest of, because I bet you the average height for a Samoan is much closer to 6 foot than it is 5'6" or 5'5", whatever it was for
Yeah.
Southeast Asian countries. So
I don't know.
So, are Filipinos Pacific Islander? Well, we definitely have shared ancestry, but it depends on your definition and who you ask. Since the definition clearly states Polynesian, Melanesian, and Micronesian, I don't know. Maybe You decide. To summarize, are Filipinos Pacific Islander? It depends on your definition. Once again, are Filipinos Hispanic? Yes. Are Filipinos Asian?
No, it's 5 foot 5 actually.
1,000,000% yes.
All the
Don't let
Samoans
anyone
I've met
else
are
tell you otherwise.
tall.
I hope this cleared things up. If you liked what you saw, hit subscribe, follow my Instagram.
This was a good video.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed this, definitely, I'll leave a link to this video in the description. Subscribe to his channel. Super well put together. It was very informative as well.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. Like, I know several Samoans. I just have never heard, because most of them are very Americanized, and they don't like know their native language or anything like that. So it's kind of cool hearing it like that and comparing it to Tagalog, I believe is how they say it. So I thought that was really cool. But according to this, it says that their average height is 5 foot 5. So all I know 3 Samoans, I believe, and the shortest one is like 5'10".
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, now they could be mixed with other things that make them so tall.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed listening to the different languages kind of mingle together, kind of mesh with each other. Obviously, we knew Filipinos were Asian, and we also knew they
Geographically,
had a lot
for
of,
sure.
Yeah, and we knew that they had a lot of Hispanic ties. The Pacific Islanders, you know, like he said, it's for you to decide.
Yeah,
by definition, technically, no and yes, because they have the same ancestors, but
yeah,
you know,
yeah. it leaves a discussion to be had.
Yeah, let us know in the comments after you subscribe to his channel, our channel, give us a like. Then let us know in the comments if you think they're Pacific Islanders.
Yeah, and with that being said,
My name's Miles.
and my name is Fez.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Peace.
Out.